Hello students, this is Professor N. Venkatachalapathi, Institute of Aeronautical Engineering. So I would like to discuss on question bank preparation for the forging topic. This comes under the manufacturing process. In this manufacturing process, the student able to study the various manufacturing process from the traditionally from the where it has been started in the World War II onwards, either casting process, fabrication, welding process, and what you call extrusion process, and 3D printing and forging or metal forming process, etc. Now let us see the how we can able to generate the questions in the module fifth one is a forging process. So in the forging, what are the advantages of open die forging and what are the tools required for forging process and effect of friction in extrusion process and what is the principle of forging process and what is the technique used for making a cold chisels and what is the length of the tool and pressure related in backward and extrusion process. Okay, these are the some different type of questions. Most probably they will ask in the examination point of view. The student here, the two things you are able to remember. The first thing is you can able to write the short answer questions. Technical terms are very clear and no need to write the histories and whatever the up to the mark. Suppose for example, they ask what are the advantages of open die forging. So generally while discussing about the open die forging, in general there are two type of forging. One is open die forging and second one is closed die forging. Look at the diagram. This is called closed and open die forging. That figure shows that the clear understanding of the what is the difference between a open die forging and closed die forging. So this is what called the open die forging. So in this open die forging, there will be one table bottom and up and in between that is the workpiece. So the workpiece which is a consisting of a rectangular one and how this rectangular shape will be reduced to a some circular or semicircular and elliptical shape by applying the pressure. So that is what about the this open die forging and whenever you can have this type of any complicated any shape also you can able to apply the pressure, it can able to change its deformation. So and here the advantages are closed die forging only limited small size. Here any size also can able to transform its position to a required shape. So that is what about this thing. And one another important thing is coming to this advantages here can able to uh, any type of shape with the little pressure. Okay, and open die forging means you can see with your naked eye so that the transformation of either it is a hot metal or cold metal. So depending upon the working. So in a any metal working process or mechanical working process, heating the metal above its recrystalline temperature, we can call it as a hot working process. Below its recrystalline temperature, we will call it as a cold working process. In that, how you can suppose to analyze this important thing, let us discuss. Okay, look at this is what about the you can mention any minimum two or three advantages of the open die forging and what are the tools required for forging. Especially you can see these are the some of the forging tools. So this has been collected in the engineering learning. Engineering learning from the website they have given some three-dimensional figures for easy understanding of the student. I have generated the collected from the website this engineering learn. So engineeringlearn.com if you see this thing. So why? Because let us see the some flatten tool, tongs tool. So the tongs tool were used to keep the raw material. Raw material is in a hot condition. How you can keep in the anvil? Then by applying pressure with the help of the sledgehammer. So that is what about the how you can able to know the different type of forging tools. In that what is its function? What application, what type of purpose you can use, you can see one by one. Okay, the flatter tool is the to have some flattening surface. Tongs means to can able to hold the hot metal, and sledgehammer by applying the pressure. So even when you wanted to get the good dimensional accuracy, the sledgehammer is not sufficient. There you can need to have some presses. So presses means uniform how much pressure you wanted to require, say 1 ton 2 ton, that you can able to apply with the automatically. But in sledgehammer manually, if you use one time, you can forcibly can apply it, but one time it may not get. That is why some changes in human being for applying the similar type of pressure, that leads to be some drawbacks also will be occur in this case. And coming to this punch tool, wherever required some making of holes, so punch tool can be mainly used for to make a holes. And chisel tool means removing the extra metal coming out of the workpiece, so that is called the chisel tool. And swage tool, even if you are fixing a computer system with the internet cable, this swage tool can be fixed exact shape and size of that component, so that it can be easily fit into the laptop or system, any etc. And even the fuller tool means there are important thing is the one side it is a some shape where you can able to apply the pressure, another time you can full of the material, that is enlarging and compressing, how they can able to perform. And rivet headers, wherever rivet also one type of process, but welding is a permanent process. Rivet means once you have to put, it cannot be reusable, that is the drawback. Riveting means sometimes it can remove that riveting process, especially in the bridges and bridge thing and all, they are use the rivet process, so they are not provide the welding process, so that sometimes they wanted to shift to that bridge material, this riveting process can be done. And some set hammer also one important in a forging process. Drift tool, drifting, so drifting means some hexagonal and try any polygonal shape, one side is the other side you can able to make a hollow portion. So this is what about this some of the basic important forging tools. So when they will ask too much question, you can write a skeleton diagram, not require three-dimensional diagram. You can draw a line diagram and you can mention the its function and what in which type of process it can be used. Okay, and coming to this annual is it is a tool where you can keep the workpiece in one side, and with the help of this sledgehammer you can apply the heat and pressure, so that you can able to get easily. And another thing is swage block. Swage block is the one of the main important forging tool, where you can able to perform either circular and rectangular and square, any type of shape you can keep exactly by applying the pressure, the same type of form can be obtained. So the multiple shape and size of the diameter will be kept in the swage block. That's why they can use, even you can see the semicircular space also. Okay, so here left side you can see the how some semicircular, how it will be like that, and some small like that. You can see the swage block is a one important forging tool, where you can perform any different type of either circular or rectangular or semicircular, different type of operations can be performed in this type of machine, where you can keep the workpiece and apply the pressure with this sledgehammer. This is a hardy tool also to sharpening the workpiece. And brake iron, so brake iron, when you wanted to cut the metal, sometimes you cannot remove with the help of the hammer and all, there you can use this brake iron for separation of that workpieces. They can use the brake iron. Okay, so like this, these are the some of the important tools. And similarly you can see the what is the principle of a forging process. In general, the term forging is a metalworking or mechanical working process, wherever in this process what they will do, it is a can be classified into depending upon heat and cold, hot forging process and cold forging process. Whenever they heating the metal above its recrystalline temperature, we call it as a hot working process. Below its recrystalline temperature, we call it the cold forging process. In general, the forging is it comes under generally smith forging. Whenever in villages everywhere you can keep one anvil, and one side they can heat the metal in some hole, etc. They will put, and with the help of the some blowing technique, and whenever after heating that metal you can keep in the anvil, by applying the pressure with the help of this sledgehammer they can able to perform the shape. So simple shape, for example, you wanted to perform S shape, how do you use the this forging process? Some hook type, these are the hook type. Crane hook also made up of this forging process, and some L type. So different type of cross section can be easily performed by this extrusion forging process. Okay, so like this you can able to write this some technical definitions only. And what is the principle of a forging technique? So the main principle involved in this: first, if it is a hot forging means you can heat the metal to the required temperature or above its required temperature. That raw material you can keep in the anvil, and by applying the pressure with the help of the some hammers or presses, any type of machine, so that in order to change it the shape and size of the component. Okay, and similarly even you can see the bolt heads also. That bolt heads, maybe it is a hexagonal shape or square heads, square bolts, and some triangular heads are there. So these and all also comes under the this forging technique can be used. And coming to these defects, write any three defects of the forging. So in general, when we are discussing about these defects, look at in this clearly the general defects in a forging process as follows. So that is what unfilled section, cold shed, scale pits, die shift, and flakes, improper grain flow, and surface cracking, residual and incomplete forging penetration. So in general, for any process, there will be some flaws and imperfections will be there. So all the process cannot come exactly same without defects and all. So that is why any process there have some defects. Either casting has a casting defects, and welding has a welding defects. Even the forging also have these own defects because of some of the imperfections. So look at these are the some important defects where you can perform, and to eliminate also can you place in this cause and effect diagram. So look at, so in this first unfilled section, when you wanted to have an unfilled section, what will happen? This is mainly the causes for unfilled section means the raw material, how much amount of raw material can be used, the exact amount. If it is a shortage of raw material means automatically unfilled section will be occur. So if it is overheating means due to flow time and some cooling time is solidification time is not given, it will be short, that is unfilled section also will happen. And some what you called this by applying the pressure, if you apply large pressure and all, sometimes it may be break, it cannot be filled properly. What are the shape of the size of the die in the component? Okay, so like that these are the some of the causes which will affect this unfilled section. So to eliminate this defect, we should be able to check and identify the raw material is exactly utilized or not. The amount of temperature can maintain properly. That method of process. So for example, in general, the forging process can be classified into 4 different types. One is the smith forging, draft forging, press forging, machine forging, like that, etc. All these process and all, depending upon our application and usage only can able to select this process. Okay, so that is why you need to understand clearly how we can able to identify the defect, what is the remedy to avoid such type of defects also you should be able to understand. Like that, similarly, cold set, scale pits, some die shift. So suddenly when you apply the pressure with the help of the hammer, sometimes it may shift. It shift to one some delta x sign size. Okay, so and the improper grain flow, especially the grain flow is concerned, it can be discussed when compared to the casting and welding process. Look at for the casting process, it is some porous in nature. Okay, this is for casting, and for fabrication process, it will go like this. So for this thing, even corners also will apply clearly all directions. Okay, exact. So this is called forging. Forging means the grain flow should be effectively can be done. Even the corner shape also can able to do good performance. Okay, so that is why these type of weldings can able to perform. So in this case, even it will go like this. It will come. These are the grind flows in the forging techniques. But nominal casting and fabrication process not like that. But this is the exact, the grind flow will be okay. This is the best process compared to the casting and fabrication process. Because of that, it will increase the mechanical properties and electrical properties and magnetic properties also. Okay, so like that, you can able to understand this type of defects. Okay, and coming to this, another thing is what you call what is the technique used for making a cold chisels. So even for making a cold chisels also, you can able to use this on drop forging while applying the drop in different process, bending and blocking. So what are the shape of the chisel, that blocking operation can be performed like that. You can able to see in this forging process. So this is the way you can able to answer the short answer questions. Even you can see the another important set of questions in the metal forging process. So here, how is ductility of a metal affected in cold forging process? So here it is one interesting question. As you know that ductility and brittle, what is the difference between a brittleness and ductility? So brittle material means cast iron, ductile material means steel. Okay, so the whenever if you are applying the more pressure, if it is a cold forging process, there is no heating can be done. Obviously, when you wanted to change a simple shape, also you can apply a lot of pressure and force. Obviously, what you need to understand, due to this ductility, you can apply the pressure effectively. Okay, and what are the materials used for making the forging hammers? So in general, that metals means some alloy steels and some forged hot what you call the diamond steels, etc. Because of it is more strength rather than the workpiece. The hammers are more strength rather than the workpiece. Then only can able to apply the that pressure. Okay, even you can see the making of this what you call the spanners, especially spanners, adjustable wrench, connecting rod. These are all made up of the drop forging process. When you're speaking about the write a note on drop forging process, so this is the best process for the this making of the connecting rods, spanners, etc. Here we can able to drop this machine. You can see in this machine you can clearly understand there will be top ram, and this is the top die, and a metal billet bottom die. So here that red yellow color is the workpiece. You can put drop automatically what are the shape of that die can able to perform. So in this way you can able to do the some different type of questions. And coming to this long answer questions. So in the long answer question means whenever it is a purely theoretical subject, manufacturing process. Once you have understand the concept of the manufacturing, any type of manufacturing process, the first thing is you should write some technical definition and what are the necessary diagram. You have to draw with a line diagram with representing all the components and all the name of the particular units, etc. Then you can write the principle and then advantages and limitations and applications. In this way, you can mention these questions. Definitely, you may score some good marks in the not only internal examination, even semester exam also you may score more than 80%. So generally the student think that it is a theory subject, whatever you can write, they will give some 50 to 60% of marks. Don't think like that. The students, if you write the appropriate technical answers, and wherever needed you can write some line diagrams, and you can detail the advantages and limitations and applications. Obviously you need to have some good marks. Even manufacturing technology also, the student secured more than 90% of marks also. Okay, so that is what this is. The once we understand the concept, you can able to write it your own way. And similarly, even you can see the what are the various types of hammers and presses. So it is a 14 marks question. Means first of all you write about this hammers and presses comes under the forging techniques. The forging comes under the metalworking or mechanical working process. Then you can explain list the different type of hammers, sledgehammer, ball peen hammer. Okay, so like that variety of hammers are there. Then you can apply the uh, presses also. The presses also again different classification. One is the mechanical press, screw press, and another press you can call it as a some what you call screw press and rolling press, high capacity tonnage presses. All these presses also available, and here you have explained with the needs line sketch and what is the basic principle. If it is a mechanical press, mechanical means such as some rack and pinion arrangement and gears, etc. That type of setup. Pneumatic press means it will be run with the air. Okay, so that's what the pneumatic. And hydraulic presses means with the application of fluid. That you can see the hydraulic presses. Okay, and here another important question is differentiate between drop forging and press forging. Differentiate between a drop forging and press forging. So here it is a very simple one. The classification you can explain clearly. 14 marks means minimum 7 points, and with the needs case for the drop forging, mainly connecting rods, wrench spanners can made up of this drop forging, and press forging with the application of presses, high tonnage presses, can able to do this press forging. There first you can explain clearly what is forging process, classification of forging methods. In that you can explain in the drop forging there are 7 or 8 methods are there. First fullering, and they can do for drawing out, then drawing, and what you call blocking. So all these type of 7 operations is there. Each operation will perform subsequently, so that the final shape can be obtained in this type of uh, process. Okay, similarly press forging means effective dimensional accuracy type can be easily obtained by press forging. You can write the some different capacity presses, in different type of capacity presses. If you're using the press forging means high, especially the surface finish will be very high quality. Okay, some components exactly we should maintain the tolerance level 0.001 to 0.005. You can go for this press forging process. Like that, you can able to explain clearly about the drop and press forging. Even the same we have discussed earlier, open die and closed die forging. This is what. So first of all, before going to explain, this is a for clear the concept identification purpose. I have drawn the three-dimensional figure, but in the examination you can write this simple line diagram. So where you can represent this is the workpiece and how the rectangular shape is converted to semi circular and elliptical shape by applying the pressure. And this is a closed die means even there will be a die is there bottom and top. Okay, so inside there is a what are the complex shape, almost only the simple shape components will be there. That die should have a made with the CNC machines, because a mirror like surface finish can be obtained. But another interesting one in a forging process, here the negligible of wastage of material. So here whatever the amount of material can be used, the same amount of material can able to get in a final component. That is what about the open die forging and closed die forging process. Okay, so this is what about the some long answer questions. Coming to this, some different type of questions which may ask in the competitive examinations also. Sometimes even IAS examination, and even if you are writing IAS for the mechanical engineering as an optional, they can ask these type of some application oriented questions they may frame. But as per the our semester examination, you can easily attempt to as per the technical definitions with the neat sketches, and wherever needed you can mention the advantages, limitations and applications. Even they didn't ask also, you can able to mention. Look at, for example, explain the advantage and limitations of the roll forging. So here how we can able to express 14 marks question. Simply if you write the 5 or 6 advantages, 6 limitations of a roll forging, means they won't give 14, they will give only 5 to 6 marks. Why? Because when you wanted to explain properly, first what is forging, and in types of forging you can focus on roll forging process, and then you can one or two sentence the roll forging principle, then you can mention the advantages also, you can elaborate. So for example, roll forging process, there will be a accuracy can be maintained effectively, okay, and there is a closed tolerances limit can be obtained. So how we can able to obtain closed tolerances, you can able to explain clearly. So wherever that roll forging, so roll forging means the application where the bearings and all you can use to, you can able to explain each advantages with respect of some application point of view, you may get good marks. But majority of the student they are simply they list out the some points and I have finished advantages and limitations, but while seeing in the final marks will be less, means because of this only. You should elaborate as per the type of question and how much you can able to extend. So this is an interesting thing to be shared. And similarly, even mechanical forging presses, advantages and limitations. Okay, mechanical forging presses they asked. So generally the people are thinking that they can write all the forging methods and all. But here you should focus on forging presses, that to mechanical forging presses. Mechanical forging press means mechanical means such as rack and pinion arrangement and screws, gears, etc. These and all comes under the mechanical presses. Manually can operate it. Sometimes semi-automated also is available. So that is what about the operation. And another thing is write a note on the tools and machines, equipments used for the forging process. In general, there are different type of tools and equipments used for the forging process. This is what you can see. These are the some forging tools, especially needed to perform not only smith forging, some draw forging process, some press forging process, and machine forging process. Any one tool may be used any type of process. Okay, so this is what about the another important thing. And look at this some advantages. You can see the forging process in general. The first advantage is you can see the metal flow and grain structure can be controlled. So that means if you write one sentence means you need to explain how the grain structure. So for example, a like this component, okay, so what are the grain flows? You should not draw in a parallel lines, okay. So actually for a forging operation you need to draw clearly about like this. At the sharp corners also can able to perform clearly. So similarly, this is the effective grain flow structure. So this is wrong, this is right. So like that, wherever needed, you can able to draw some line diagram so that you may score good marks. So similarly, result in good strength and toughness. So especially, what is the purpose of using some? What are the components you require? Good strength, toughness. Okay, so for that also application of some machineries we are using where you can perform, and you can able to add some more points for the toughness also. Okay, and parts of reasonable and complexity can be created. So like gates, connecting rods, and any complex shapes, even spark plug. Okay, so different complex shapes also can able to perform the forging process. You can able to draw some applications like a gear, a connecting rod and complex shape, etc. Okay, even though it is some limitations are dies are more expensive. So this is what it is a costlier. In order to reduce the cost, you can able to do the mass production. When you perform the mass production, obviously you can able to do good thing. And particularly high skilled labor is required. Why? Because it is a hot-head condition. Handling the metal is very, very difficult. If you are a skilled labor, you can able to perform better. So if you are unskilled labor, means it is a very dangerous for even a one spark of metal will chip of metal will put on our human being. It may spoil the entire body. So that's what the heated condition may be more than 1200 to 1400 degrees centigrade. At that level, it is very difficult to control. So that is why the skilled operators are very, very required. So that when you wanted to have a skilled operator, the cost of the process may be increased. Okay, and that's why you should give training in that industry itself, so that the cost can be controlled and reduced. And coming to this critical thinking questions, this is the one interesting, especially when you wanted to have some critical thinking questions, like how are internal cavities minimized during extrusion of a metal? Explain. Look at this fifth question. How are internal cavities are minimized? So obviously, internal cavities can be minimized with the hot forging process. This comes under the hot extrusion process, even hot forging process also. Okay, so internal cavities and anything can be eliminated with the metal can be heated above its recrystallization temperature. Then that is called the hot extrusion. These cavities can be eliminated, relieve the internal stresses so that they can improve the mechanical properties, electrical properties, and optical properties, etc. You are supposed to done in a sequential manner. Okay, and another interesting thing is write a notes on tools used for forging process. Here you can able to specify. They can given general. Write a note on tools used for forging. So even no need to write all the tools. Some basic. If you take any select one Smith forging process, what type of tools are required? Yes or no? So this is what you can see the in a Smith forging process. So you can have an annual tool, and when one is a flattener and one sledgehammer, tongs. These four are sufficient in a Smith forging. So when you wanted to perform a drop forging, you can able to dropping hammer, rivet header, puller, some type other type of metal, or press machine means some presses is required in order to change your shape. There, these type of tools are very, very less is required. There are automatic presses, mechanical presses, electrical presses are more widely required. Okay, and that is what about that thing. And coming to this creative, these are some different type of, and how you compare difference between a Smith forging and roller forging. So in general, this when you are speaking about the differentiation, the majority of the student they'll write Smith forging slash and drop for roller forging. Okay, so like that, if you write some points, means we won't give full marks. First of all, what are the general technical difference? Smith forging, it is a traditional one. Every village they have one Smith forging technique, but roller forging is some little bit advanced and some specific bearing type of application. How the preparation of that mold, that mold in a proper shape can be performed, some costlier process for the mold making also. So like that, you can able to explain clearly about its principle and advantages and limitations and application of this type. Okay, and even let us generally look at the what are the classification of this forging means. The forging can generally classified into two things. One is called open forging, closed forging. In the open forging, again it can be classified into a some Smith or flat die forging. This is a hand forging process, power forging. So hand forging means by applying the hammer annual, etc. Power forging means application of the presses also can be used. And again, power means hammer and press. So this is what general classification of forging. Even the closive die forging or impression die forging means basically it can be divided into three types. One is a drop forging, press forging, machine forging. The drop forging, the best example is the connecting rod, wrenches, etc. Press means either mechanical, electrical, optical presses can be used. What are the shape, large sized component can be easily done with the presses. Machine forging means they can use the high tonnage capacity machines. So where you can able to handle the where that heated metal and transform into that machine. Their capacity will be more than 10 to 100 tons and 1000 tons also. But that cost of the machine also very high. So whenever some mass production only they can able to offer this machine molding technique or machine forging process. Okay, so these are the some important some glimpses of working. So short and answers about this the discussion on question bank. I hope the students can understand clearly how do you attempt the examination, either it may be CAE or semester examination. You need to have a concept oriented and diagrammatic and some application oriented answer should be mentioned so that you can score the good marks. Okay, so thank you for the session. Next session we'll discuss another topic. Okay, thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.